I'm going to spill some tea. I found out that my dad has a secret family.
Oh, hi guys, welcome back. Today's show is going to be a lot of fun because it's about juicy family secrets. I hope you enjoy, and if you don't mind, hit subscribe for me.
Me, I can spend like years, months without talking to certain people in my family or my parents, whatever. I'll go like years, not talking to them. It would never affect me because I never believed there was my true family. I never actually believed that. For some reason, I knew, it was like deep down in my heart, I knew they couldn't be my family. They couldn't be my soul family. There's no way. I have nothing in common with these people. I got a bunch of siblings. I'll probably only have something in common with one of them or two of them. But it's just like, I never really cared too much. I didn't really care too much about them like that. Go out of my way. I used to do that when I was young, but it never felt good to me. Back then I used to really force myself to talk to them or to be around them because for society's sake, I used to force doing that. But once my ancestor and God told me let them go, that's all I needed. Because I never really had anything in common with them. I never really had anything in common with them. I never really felt in my heart or in my soul like these are my family. I never felt that. Never felt that. So it's always easy for me to like stay away from them and stuff. When I'm away from them, better things happen to me. I feel like I'm at peace or, things go good for me. But
Oh, okay. So check this out. I was a little confused there. I thought maybe she literally did a DNA test and found out that she wasn't related to her family, which is freaky. Could you imagine if you found out one day that the reason you were ostracized from quote unquote these people and you felt like they were nuts is because they actually abducted you as a child or something? That would be trippy. I have a feeling, and maybe I'm way off. Maybe that is what this lady's trying to say, but I think she's trying to say she had more of a spiritual awakening and just decided to kind of write her family out of the picture. If someone knows better than I do, let me know. This one kind of confused me, but was super interesting.
I've seen some people post their crazy ancestry DNA stories, and I think mine might be the icing on the cake. So I didn't find out who my dad was until I was 21. Ooh. I am an identical twin, so my sister and I both grew up our entire life having no idea who our father was. When I was 21, I was able to do a little investigating and get to the bottom of it, and we found out who he was. So there was communication through email way back. This would have been 15 years ago. There would have been communication 15 years ago, but just one or two emails, and then we've never connected since. When we found that out, we also found out that we had two brothers who were younger than us, probably by about like 7 to 10 years. Kind of just left it at that. So fast forward to roughly 3 years ago, my sister decides she's going to join Ancestry DNA and kind of get into our family history. Our family also immigrated from Lebanon, so we knew that there was a lot of pieces that needed to be connected. So she signs up, she connects with a bunch of family members from my dad's side of the family. Then she decides to go on Instagram and do a little investigation. In doing that, she's able to connect with one of our half-brothers, and we end up meeting in Toronto where they live a couple months later. So we all meet up in Toronto, and then, we have a great time. We go to dinner, we hang out. Fast forward to this year, 2021, just before Easter, my sister had to renew her Ancestry DNA membership. She wasn't going to, but she decided she would do it. So, on my dad's side of the family, one of our cousins decided to sign up for Ancestry DNA. They had no idea we existed. The only people that knew were our brothers and their mother, my dad, and his current wife. So I have come to find out so this cousin signs up. for Ancestry DNA, and she is matched with my sister as a first cousin match. She messages my sister and she's like, who? What? Who's your dad? And my sister says, my dad says his name. And they're like, excuse me? What do you mean? So pieces start to unfold, the story gets told, and we now have an aunt and uncle. We have 3 first cousins, and we also have 8 second cousins. My sister went to high school with one of our cousins, and they were in yearbook photos together and hung out in the same group. And my kids are almost 12 and 6. And my cousin's children are, again, all between the ages of 12 and 6. So we've hung out, we've met, all of our kids look alike, and nobody knew until a few months ago.
That is trippy. Could you imagine just walking down the street or in a store next to a group of people only to find out that the reason you look somewhat like them is because you are related to them? I always find these stories the neatest, kind of reminds you of a Hallmark movie or something, but it sounds like her dad wasn't necessarily the coolest guy, kind of like to keep a lot of secrets from family members, it sounds like.
I just recently, in the last couple of weeks, found out that I have 2 sisters, I have a brother, I have an uncle, and I have a biological dad that I never met, I never knew about, and he's passed away. There's 2 big things that I've noticed. The first one is that no one wants you to find anything out, right? Everybody's quite happy in their own comfortable little space in life, and they don't want anything to mess with that. My mom doesn't, the rest of my family doesn't. I'm sure my new family doesn't want me to either, but this is about us. This is about me and my journey and what I need. The other thing I've noticed is that, yes, some of my old family, I don't know about the new family, but some of the old family would rather I was not on TikTok. And I have to keep reminding them it's my story. And I get to tell my story any way I want.
So the story goes, my great grandfather, when he passed away, we all went to his funeral. I was like 5, 6 years old, and I was crying because it was the first time I experienced death, right? Supposedly, some people were there in the crowd that nobody really knew. And apparently one went up to one of my great uncles and said he was a great man. This is our dad. And my great uncle was like, what are you talking about? Come to find out, my great grandfather had like another family in another part of the town. I was like, that is crazy. And it sounds like there's some secrets in a lot of families out there.
Especially when there is such an enormous community out there that knows exactly what I'm going through. Can you imagine what I went through when I saw my dad's face for the first time? I've spent 51 years not looking like anybody in my family. And here is this picture that made me cry, ugly cry, and sob because I was looking at myself. And you deserve that. We all deserve to find out where we came from, where our looks come from, where this big nose come from. It came from my dad. So don't give up, but we're not responsible for what happened, but we deserve to know the truth.
Wow, how do you guys feel about that? Let us know down below. I think that's incredible. I should do the Ancestry DNA. I actually purchased one of those kits once upon a time, but then I started watching YouTube videos about how China was going to get all of my medical information, and for some reason I chickened out. I'll probably end up doing it in the near future.
I'm going to spill some tea. I found out that my dad has a secret family.
Ooh.
I was an oops baby. 1987. My brother was an oops baby.
I think most people are.
1991. My dad had us when he was separated from his first wife, so I actually have 2 older half-brothers.
Wow.
That are in their 50s. Scrolling on Facebook, and I don't have my mom or my dad. there, people who you should know, or people you might know, found my dad, clicked on his profile. First post that said public. Hi, Dad.
Wow.
Happy birthday.
That's crazy.
That was his wife calling him Daddy.
Could you imagine finding out about your dad's other family that way? That was his wife calling him Daddy. That's a little crazy. Why didn't she say Daddy instead of Dad? That is a little weird.
I kept scrolling. My parents never married. My mom was my dad's girlfriend.
Wow.
My
side
dad
chick.
remarried in 2003. I was 15.
That is bizarre. Oh my God. Okay, so check this out in case you just walked in from the kitchen. Her mom was the girlfriend to her dad. Her dad actually was married to someone else. Then, when she was 15, her dad got married again, but again, not to her mom. That is creepy weird. That is crazy. Oh my God.
Yeah. My brother was 12.
Why didn't he marry her mom? He just kept this girlfriend on the side and then literally had this other life where he got divorced and remarried. Whoa!
They have a daughter who's 18 years old. I'm 35.
Remember earlier, she said that her older half brothers are in their 50s. She's 35. This new sibling with the new wife is, I don't know, in the teens. I forget what they say, 17 or whatever. That is so nuts. This is probably one of the best secret family stories I've ever heard in my life, right here.
My dad had a kid when he was like 9 years old.
What a stud. Or excuse me, a Chad.
So my husband and I are professional genealogists, and one thing that we enjoy doing is going back and forth, talking about our family history and trying to figure out whose side of the family is the most messiest. When you are doing family research, if you're familiar, you know that you're going to uncover things that people in your family were trying to keep quiet. And guess what? When you start to uncover your lineage and you start to look at records and documents and you start to see that your great uncle lived in one location, but he also ended up on a census in another location because he had two families, whew, it's a mess. So if you've ever done family research, please let me know, if you feel comfortable sharing, what is the messiest story that you've come across?
So here's what's crazy. I feel like she was adjacent to the story because can't we all agree that while our uncles are important to us in our lives, that's not like your mom or dad. So I feel like the story where it was like, hey, my dad had all these multiple wives and what have you, I feel like that's a little bit crazier than finding out about your uncle. But still, imagine your Uncle Jerry, right? And then all of a sudden he's somebody else's Jerry in another part of the country half of the year when he's out, doing his job or something. That is kind of trippy. No doubt about it.
I've literally been trying to record this like 5 times and I'm just having a hard time getting it out. So since TikTok is going away and I don't really have anything to lose from this, I don't have anything to gain from this either. Here we go. My dad tried to kill me when I was 12 years old. He strangulated me. My mom witnessed the whole thing and defends him, stayed with him, and neither of them will acknowledge this. And I have been gaslit for the past 21 years about this matter, and I'm done being quiet. And that is why I do not speak to anyone in my family.
That is so crazy. I wonder how she found out. Was she saying that her mom told her, but yet they all deny it? That is a little weird. Would you be able to live in the same house with one of your family members, whether it's your siblings or your parents, if you knew that once upon a time when you were a baby and at your most vulnerable, somebody tried to strangle you and take you out? Would you be able to live with them even though that happened X amount of years ago? Yeah, I don't think I would be able to.
Put your hand up if you were traumatized by someone in your family, and after you told the adult in your life that this person did something to you, you were still forced to go to social outings, have gatherings, hug them, kiss them, tell them that you love them, even though it made you uncomfortable, it caused you anxiety, it made your heart pound, it made you cry, it made you ball up, it made you have nightmares.
Could you imagine that same situation? A family member has done something to you, and your folks make you go and hang out with that family member every single holiday and special event of the year. That is torture.
You want to talk about a shocking family secret? Why did I just find out that my cousin that I grew up with spent every summer, she's 4 years older than me. Why did I just find out? Okay, let me back up a little bit. I have a daughter. I had my daughter when I was 19 years old. So my daughter's a year older than her son. So I thought we had our kids around the same time and everything. Why did I just find out that she was pregnant at 16? My grandmother, her mother, sent her away, had she had the baby, and they made her give the baby up for adoption. No one in the family ever knew. Like, I am floored.
That's the type of stuff that they used to talk about happening back in the 50s and the 40s and stuff. She looks young enough where this must have happened just in the past 20 or some odd years. That seems a little outdated to me.
I'm in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of a road trip, about to go confront my mom about the childhood photo she claims she doesn't have and the book that she doesn't want me to write. Most of my friends don't even know this, but I found out that I had moved to the US permanently in the parking lot of a McDonald's in Central Valley, California, when I was about middle school age. We had come to the US for a vacation, and nobody knew except for my mom that we were actually moving here permanently. You know, it's such an on-the-nose American way to find out that I was never going to go home again while eating one of those handheld apple pies. I didn't know this at the time, but my mom had been planning her escape for 2 years. 2 years she'd been plotting and planning how we were all going to move without anyone knowing.
That's crazy. There was a movie, God, I forget who the actress was, but the movie was like Not Without My Daughter, and it was about her escaping her husband in Pakistan or somewhere in the Middle East, and then finding a way to escape back to America. It sounds like this young girl's mom did that very thing, but it doesn't look like she's happy about it. Let's see how this continues.
See, the thing is that my mom is a white woman who grew up in Montana, and she moved to LA in the 80s, and she met my dad, who is an Arab man from Saudi Arabia, who is studying there to go to flight school so that he could become a pilot, which he did. And then when he did, he moved back to Saudi Arabia, and with it he took his new bride, my mother, who had converted to Islam for this man and completely upended and changed her life for love. And you know what? It worked out for about 13 years, and then it didn't. There I am, 11 years old, bawling my eyes out into a half uneaten apple pie while my mom tells me that everything that we have with us, everything that we brought with us for vacation was all that we had. Everything that I'd owned, my whole entire life, all of my childhood that I'd left behind in my room, I was never going to be able to see again. Nothing. And she couldn't tell us because she didn't want anyone to know, and so she had to be really selective about the process. She didn't want to pack anything that would give us away, so we couldn't bring any extra clothing. We couldn't bring more than the small amount of luggage that we had.
That is a brilliant idea. You have to literally make it look like you're only packing for a 7-day leave. You have to kiss your husband just like you're gonna miss the dickens out of him, right? And then you have to let everyone know that, hey, when I get back, let's go shopping, let's do this, that, and the other, so that they don't even think that it's gonna be the last time they see you. Very, very intense.
But she did decide that there were two things that she was going to try to smuggle with her in with the rest of the clothing. One, a bag of jewelry. Remember this, it's important, that I think she was planning on selling at some point, surely not to remember my dad by. And the other thing that she decided that she was going to bring with her was several shoe boxes of photos. Now, this was actually kind of a difficult thing for her to do because you've got to remember it was the early 2000s. There was no way for her to upload all the photos or scan them into the cloud. She had to take physical photos and she mixed them in with the clothing. I do believe that there is also at least one box of photos that is of my childhood and of my siblings' childhood and photos of my family that I haven't spoken to or seen since I moved here. I did not get a chance to say goodbye to them at all, and after I left, they all assumed that I was on my mom's side, so none of them were interested in speaking with me again.
That's crazy. Okay, so let's try to predict the last third of this video. Do you think that she is on her mom's side herself, or do you think she's actually leaning towards her father's side? Does this remind you of that movie, Not Without My Daughter, right? But it's the modern version. This is really something else. She hasn't spoken to that family. Are Saudi Arabians allowed to get on Facebook? Does anybody know? There should be a way she can communicate. Let's see how this ends.
And I lost everyone that day and everything. I think that my mom does not want to give me these photos because after she moved here, she kind of shed her old life like a coat. She lives this lovely, hunky-dory life with this white man named Stanley. And I think she just wants us to all forget that it ever happened or that we're
Wow.
even Arab at all. She doesn't want me to look into this further is because the day that she was talking to me in the McDonald's parking lot, she told me the reason why we moved here. And the reason was 2 years prior, somebody, my dad's coworker, called her up and said, I have some bad news to tell you. Your husband is having an affair with one of our other coworkers. Well, you'd be thinking this might be some inappropriate information to tell a 11-year-old, and you're absolutely correct. There's no reason why I should have known that information. But the thing is, what my mom doesn't know is that I know exactly who my dad had an affair with. He was a pilot, and he was, of all cliches, having an affair with one of his flight attendants. And you want to know how I know? Because Linda has been to our house, and Linda has talked to me personally without my mom knowing. And Linda looks exactly like my mother. Doesn't want me untangling this thread because once I start untangling it, I think there is a lot of other information that I might learn, and a lot of it is not necessarily good. A little bit of both. Isn't that what the truth is? It's his side and her side, and it's somewhere in between.
I love this damn story. I thought she was going to be on her dad's side. I thought she was against her mom. The truth is, she's a little bit upset at both because it equated to her losing everything. Man, that gave me chills. What a great story. And there's a lot more good stories that we're going to find together. So hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, and we'll see you tomorrow.